All right, guys. Hey, welcome. This is Piper Academy. I am Army Piper. We got a great show lined up for you today. Going to be taking a look at PCE data came in this morning. How's the markets working on that? What happened in China to make everybody move over into Bitcoin, giving us this little pump? We're going to take a look at that and a whole lot more. Plus, special guest today, Magic Internet Money in the house. All that today on Piper Academy, guys. Class is in session. Guys, welcome to Piper Academy. This is the show that we look at every morning. The charts, the markets, the news, everything that you need to have knowledge, because knowledge is profit. Coming at you at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every Monday through Friday. Guys, thanks for joining us here on the show. Always a pleasure. It's Friday. It is Friday. It's time to celebrate. Let's go ahead and get into, first off, bring up my team here, my fellow analyst here, OC guy, TradeFly. What's up, fellas? How you guys doing today?
What's going on? Happy to be here. Excited to have a guest on. It's Friday. Let's get this party started.
Let's get it. Let's go. OC, how you doing, man?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Just had a great breakfast here and getting ready to rock and roll because, as TradeFly says, it is Friday.
Did you have Mexican spaghetti for breakfast? That is the question.
No, I had French toast.
Okay, so not Mexican at all. Totally
shout out
French.
to French toast.
We're going to go ahead and bring Magic Internet Money up now, guys. You guys probably know him. I'm sure you do. If you're watching this show, you should know who Magic Internet Money is. Let's go ahead and bring him up here onto the show. Magic, what's up, man? How you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great. I just got back from the gym, so you guys are getting kind of the roughest version of me. Ready to look at charts, though, and go into the weekend and relax.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's go ahead and let's jump in. I want to take a look at the PCE data first because we had some stuff that just printed this morning on that. So let's jump over there. Nope, that would not be the news. That would be charts. So let me bring up that. There we go. It's beautiful. First off, guys, here, the last past hour, we've had some movement. Bonk up 1.9%. ICP up 2.4 there. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin down 0.1% for the hour, up 2.8% for the day. Ethereum up 1.5%. Any other big movers in here? BNB up 2.7%. Solana up 3.5%. My Solana bag appreciates that. Avalanche up whopping 5.9%. This is actually a good move with the down selling pressure that we've had here recently. So ICP up 7.1% for the day. Any other big movers? OKB, that is OKX's their internal token over there. So that's up 0.8%. But we got 11.7% move on optimism. So we might take a look at that. Let's jump over here, take a look at the liquidations. Past 24 hours, guys, 39,614 traders were liquidated. Total liquidations coming in at 106.7 million. I actually thought that number would be higher given the volatility of that flip that we had overnight. The single largest liquidation was Ethereum, coming in at $4.55 million. Guys, as we talked about on the PCE here, we have core PCE came in today. Got a little update from the KBC letter. We'll look at that also. He actually gives the actual breakdown here. But core PCE came in at 0.2%. Previously was at 0.1%. Consensus and forecast was that it would be 0.2%. Guess what? Came in neutral on it. They got that one right. Personal income came in at 0.3%. It actually was 0.4% before. 0.3% was a forecast. 0.3% was the consensus. But the actual, they put 0.3. It's actually 0.29. So it's even better than it looks. And that's putting us overnight with some things that happened in China with Bitcoin. Put us right in line with a little bit of a bullish momentum. Maybe we can push through this resistance that we're currently sitting at. One thing over here, let's jump over here and grab the bookmarks on X marks the spot. And then let's go in here and look. Fear and greed, guys. Fear and greed currently sitting at 49. We are neutral right now. We're not greedy. We're not fearful. We're just kind of sitting in the middle of the road right now. Also in here, the KBC letter. Let's take a look and see what he says here about today's stuff. Breaking December PCE inflation. The Fed's preferred inflation measurement. Just so you guys know, this is the number one thing that the Federal Reserve looks at when they're laying out the FOMC rate cuts, rate increases, pauses, whatever, which is going to be on the 31st. It's next Wednesday. We're right around the corner from it. So this data comes out, and this is what they're going to be looking at. It was unchanged at 2.6% in line with the expectations. Core PCE inflation fell to 2.9%, below the expected 3%. So this is the lowest core PCE inflation number since April 2021. He continues it on down here. He said, we now have headline CPI inflation on the rise with headline PCE inflation unchanged. However, both core PCE and CPI inflation are on the decline. So we are less than 1 week away from the Fed meeting, FOMC rate cuts, Fed rates next Wednesday. That is going to be 1 week from now, a little bit less than a week. And so we're going to be seeing how this data is going to play in with everything that they are looking at over there with that. And then the last thing that I wanted to show you is that there was an overnight move. And I know, Magic, you are not a big guy on when it comes to news. You don't think that the news has much effect, but it does give us a report about what happened. So taking a look here on this article, I've been talking about this all week, guys, that China, all throughout this week, China is in trouble. I said they've got recession indicators popping everywhere coming up. Their stock market was probably predicted to have one of the worst pullbacks that they've had in a long time because they had a little rally last year and it was short-lived. Their property values are in the tank. They're in trouble. And that's why I've always said BRICS is FUD, because the nations that they're putting at the forefront of the competition against the U.S. dollar, not strong enough to upset the U.S. dollar because they're weak. The yuan is super weak. Well, China's Bitcoin ban backfires. $86 billion crypto volume soars amid stock slumps. So in China yesterday, they had a nice pullback on their stock market. And the predictions were coming out that it's going to be very low. This is why we've seen a lot of movement into Bitcoin. There's actually a picture that I saw of a line of people going into a store in China, and it said, well, it looked like maybe it was Taiwan with the Bitcoin on the window, because I think unless you're in Hong Kong, it's very difficult to get Bitcoin over there right now. So China's cryptocurrency trading and mining ban hasn't deterred local investors from flocking to the crypto market. In defiance of the ban, these investors turn to digital assets to escape the economic downturn plaguing their traditional investments such as stocks and real estate, both of them in the tank over there. So let's jump over here and let's talk about this, and then we're going to go take a look at the charts and just see, what happened with this and where are we now, where have we been, where are we going, and we're going to do it all with a little magic internet money style. So MIM, we'll ask you first, Magic. What do you think about this, bro? Is this bullish for crypto that China's economy is in the tank?
I don't think it's if we stay correlated to the U.S. economy as Bitcoin has, not recently, obviously, as I think the S&P was doing quite well while Bitcoin was dumping. But by and large, as a whole, since crypto is still kind of tied to that as a market, I think the U.S. economy is also a little bit tied to China as well. What's good for China is good for the U.S. What's good for the U.S. is good for China. At least that's how I see it. On a macro level, if we're talking China goes into a full-on recession, it's not going to be good for us overall. It doesn't mean our economy is going to tank, but it certainly isn't going to help matters, is how I see it. It's more of a symbiotic relationship at this point with the way trade goes in the world.
Yeah, the way I see it, I think that they need to have their economy sitting strong enough that it stays afloat, but not so strong that their stock market is where risk wants to go land at. That's what my opinion is. So, TradeFly.
I hope it's good for crypto. Sorry, I hope it's good for crypto. But
one thing
I'll say is we're all speculating on the day we decouple. I guess when will crypto just kind of leave the stratosphere in terms of what's being affected by traditional markets?
Probably about the same time that someone finally says on a regular basis, Bitcoin is worth 1 Bitcoin. There you go. That's what's going to need. Until then, like, what's the price on Bitcoin right now? Everyone will tell you 41,300. No, what's the price on 1 Bitcoin? It's 1 Bitcoin. I think that's where we need to get to with that. So, TradeFly, thoughts on this, and then we'll pass it over to OC guy. A little round robin here, talk on the discussion side.
Yeah, man. So, hey, I got some breaking news of my own. All right. This is the place to get your crypto news every morning. Let's go.
Right
All
on.
right, there you go. If you're new here, like and subscribe. Let's get after. We're bringing guests like this on all the time. It's awesome. So I'll tend to agree with Mim, because China is heavily invested in the U.S. economy, real estate. Like, I mean, you do not want China's financial system or any of that to go down. Like, you don't want that. I promise you. If they do go into recession, again, like you said, that's bad news. And the one thing that I would like to see from China, though, is really that they start getting in line with adoption, right? So they start adopting what they're trying to do, I think, right now is actually, I think they're trying to create their own digital system in the background so that they can control it, because that is what China likes to do. But I would say it would be very bullish for us, or for crypto as a whole, is if they do start to adopt it and they make regulations, for adoption. But I don't see that happening, to be honest with you. It's China. China likes control. I think that they're actually going to do something of their own, kind of like the CBDC that we've been talking about. I think that might be a real thing in China.
Yeah, I can see that absolutely. OC, your thoughts, or Magic? Do you have a response back to that?
No, I agree with a lot of it. And he's certainly right. China likes to control money, information, all that stuff. So
For sure. OC, thoughts
What
on
I
it, brother?
Absolutely. So I do agree with me and TradeFly, but I have a little bit of a different perspective. Like, I absolutely can see what is good for the U.S. is also good for China, but what is good for China, bad for China is also bad for U.S. economy. But when we're talking about worldwide events, I do believe that there is a major discrepancy between those two economies, and that's the way how they get to be there, and also the way that they're handling their citizens. So I believe what might be happening is, like, for example, blocking the growth of one economy with another incentive for another economy. That is the way not to create a worldwide event that is bad for both of those, but to make that gap go higher, and to make that availability for another competition. Like, we have the Mexican economy jumping back right between China and the US, trying to be a little bit opportunistic in that way. And that's what I believe, that they need to be very careful. I mean, when we're talking about digital assets, China, they have it under control, like, majorly, right? I mean, they even go after their citizens if they talk against the party, and by blocking the way that what they can purchase with their money. So that is something to be noted. They know how to control a digital asset. So I believe what they're scared of, it's just getting too much freedom to the control they have, in order to continue that growth. But and this is just my opinion, I believe their issue lies within the age of their citizens.
Yeah, I can see that absolutely. So yeah, that's why we had a little movement. So let's go ahead. First, I want to jump over here and give a shout out to Joe into Trade Intuition in the chat right now, so guys. If you haven't followed him yet, this is Joe. He's called Trade Intuition on his YouTube channel, and he's got some great stuff in here. If you guys have any questions at all about trade, journaling, stuff like that, this guy has amazing products, content on that, on the side of Trade Journals. So guys, go check him out. Dropping his link here to his channel right now in the chat. So just want to give him a shout out. Guy's got 35 subscribers. He's trying to build up, but he's got great content. He actually should have a lot more. So I wanted to do that. Magic. Let's go ahead and jump over to your screen, and let's take a look at what you're seeing on Bitcoin. And then I got a couple of questions for you, and then I'll show you something that I got going on my chart. So,
okay, cool. Yeah, so this was actually an area of interest for me. I gave it on our trading thing the other week on Crypto Wars, looking for a bounce here. Not really looking for a reversal, but looking for a bounce. So you can see I've got really just very few levels marked. 40,200 was a big one, and 41,560. It's really more of a zone, and we'll talk about that in a second. But what this was a shark pattern. So what I was looking for on this was, oops, went ahead and got rid of all of it. I just wanted to get rid of the channel. What I was looking for were essentially Fibonacci expansions in this case. You did have some naked like weekly and monthly pivots there that were just kind of chilling, untapped. So they were kind of just targets for me. But realistically, looking to take the low, and then as strength comes in the market, retake the start of the pattern, which is X. So it's a swing failure pattern. So target on this is generally the 50% or the B leg. So basically a back test of this area. And the reason that's important to understand is before you got expansion inside of like a range type scenario, you had consolidation, right? And then this consolidation expands from the B to C, and it gives you your Fibonacci expansions, right? So in this case, the maximum expansion you can have is a 224% expansion, and you certainly did get almost all of that. So very deep for this pattern. I don't know that I would trade it just because of the 113% rule from X to A, but it's certainly there. So you're getting the reversal. And then now, how do we get targets from there outside of this and maybe do a little more work on it? I've got just basic pivots up. Okay. So this is your monthly pivot. It's going to be a good support and resistance. And, you can start looking at things from a more local time frame. And actually, I'm going to jump over here and steal some ranges from my weekly folder real quick. And we'll keep it a clean chart for you guys.
You're so organized.
That account has information from like 2018 and 19 that I've been trading on. So if TradingView ever goes away, I'll probably cry. Just looking at things from a weekly standpoint, you can also see you've got a naked point of control from the prior week that is naked. So you closed outside of the range, which is a really big deal. So when this closed, generally you close within the actual range itself. When you close outside of it, it kind of gives you a unique setup. So I'm expecting this to get tagged just based on those statistics. It's a little north of 80% when that happens. So it's usually within the week, and we're trying to make that move now. What you'll notice is that value area low to that prior week range resides directly on the monthly pivot, or the average of price from December rolled over into January. So this was December's average at 41,560.50. You could kind of go down into the low time frames yet again, go to like the weekly, because we're already looking at the weekly range, and you could say, all right, my weekly pivot, which is the average of price from the prior week, is also right here at the lows and the value area low. So 41.5 to 41.7, if reached, look for that little pop up. Now, I saw Alex O in the chat. He said something about a beautiful, sexy harmonic, and then he said Batman. So I don't know if he's talking about the high time frame or the low time frame. Just looking at this on the low time frame, I don't know that I would choose these pivot points personally, but you certainly do have the makings of what's referred to as a bat harmonic. The reason it's important to note these is, well, you're getting a very shallow retrace, like a 50% to another 50%. And then you're looking for an 886 usually. So a little bit higher than this, which would put you pretty close to that weekly pivot area, as long as you don't take the high, right? So in that instance, it implies maybe we don't hit that target. So I think that's maybe what he's talking about, unless he's talking about the really high time frame one that we got the short from for the macro. But low time frames, 41.5, 41.7, really important. Get above that. I'll stair step it to 42.6. Nothing changes my mind realistically below 44. And even that, that's tough. I think that we've got a pretty good high in right now, but you never know. I could be wrong.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to jump over here real fast and show my chart, because I've actually got this trend line that I'm on a 4-hour Bitcoin chart, and I got this trend line that's starting back here from the peak in August 2023. We kind of traded along it all the way through here throughout November and part of December here, and then we broke beneath it. This break beneath was pretty tragic for my support line there, because it had held it beautifully. But we broke that January 22nd. So just recently, we are testing that right now. This push up this morning, you can see that the 4-hour candle closed on the line. Right now, we are trading above that. And so it's interesting where your levels are at on that, because right about that level at about 41,700, we have a 50-week exponential moving average sitting there. And then on top of that, if we bring this up, we can see that we also have the dynamic reactor from the indicators that I use from Chart Prime coming into play. And then we also have this trend assistant. That's this red one here. So that's all coming into play at about 41,800 down to like 41,700. So pretty big resistance levels right there. Yeah. What I'm hoping to see is that we come up here, we hit into this range of resistance, come back and retest this trend line. And if we get a bullish retest on there, then I will be changing my sentiment over to maybe some more upside. But as of right now, we've got to get through this entire cluster over here. Volume, and then also through that 50-week and that dynamic reactor. So that's what I'm seeing there on that.
Love to see confluence. It's always good.
Yeah, confluence is the name of the game in my trade. So,
Right.
So I do have a couple of questions for you, Magic. Breaking down, your current trades that you're in now, because from what I understand, you're in a long and a short right now on Bitcoin. And guys, out there, the viewers, if you are not aware of this, Magic's long is from around $16,000. His short,
right around there.
his short is from $48,000. So if you guys were gonna put a sniper on your team, this is the guy that I'm gonna grab right there. He's gonna be my sniper on my Call of Duty 4-man team because you're crushing those targets. Can you talk about what you saw on those trades and how you got into them? So.
Believe it or not, a lot of it had to do with time on both of them. And same with, I got a short in 2022 that I held all the way through to the bottom. And then after it hit the bottom, I was still in that short and the long for a while. And then I finally closed my short at like 21K, I think. But it was short from over 40. So it's one of those things where a hedge. But time is really important to me in terms of these markets, especially Bitcoin, because it's very cyclical. And the long is pretty easy to explain. The short, also pretty easy. So we'll start with the long. I need to go to BLX because I don't think I have enough data on Bybit to do that. So basically, we knew that we had a 1-to-1 in timing. Let me get rid of all this stuff here. I was working out some statistics on closures. Didn't quite pan out the way I wanted, but that's okay. That's why we try them out.
Can't all be winners.
No, but you got to find out if you've got an edge there or not somehow, right?
Yep.
So I was working off the weekly time frame for this cycle. Main reason being is we had a very symmetrical top. And so a symmetrical bottom would have made sense. So what I mean by that is when you came down to the last cycle low, the exact same time it took to make the high from the low, expanded over, all we're doing is taking this distance from the low to the high and then projecting it off the current low. That's why there's 3 points on that. It's a projection. So there is your 1-to-1. It's the exact high, right? So in November 2021. If you were to now erase that and go, okay, well, how long did we go down for? Everybody was focused on 88% or 90%. In reality, time was probably the most important factor. And a lot of people say this high was invalid, which I would argue was not. So this was your low. It wasn't the overall low because you did get a swing failure pattern, which aided me in getting the long a little bit later. But I was looking for lower up until, this like November 8th, 9th date. And when we finally got it, I thought, okay, I should close my short or, are these 10K targets going to become a thing? I didn't really know because, I'm not perfect. Nobody is. So what I had done was I stayed on the weekly chart and I knew that if we reclaimed our range right here, that more than likely I was going to have a pretty bullish event. Main reason being is we could then go over to these pivots yet again. And the yearly pivot, I'll tell you, hits it over an 80% rate. So it's all the way up at 26,741. So the context of this is we've got some bullish action going on. The low has been taken and swept for a trade long. And if you missed it, you're just now looking for an entry. Stop loss goes below this low initially. And I'm looking to ride this through the entire range up to the prior year's average. So timing kind of aided me that. I knew that time was on my side. I was like, okay, we had our 1-to-1. We know that we should be looking for reversal. We're getting a failure to break lower here. So I need to start looking for signs of strength and a setup to get in. I went over to the weekly chart, and essentially what I had done was I noticed you had 2 weekly, what I call breakers. Some people refer to them as swing failure patterns. On Bybit, they're different. I actually have them on Bybit. On Bybit, they're a little bit different. I'm going to go to that chart because I have it set up on there. Sorry. So now you understand the context of the low. The high is very similar, but you can do it on Bybit. So it's really, really easy. 17,174 and 16,621, I believe, are the numbers. If I remember. Yeah, 17,174. We'll leave them in yellow. I usually change them to white, but we'll just leave them yellow. So what you can see here on the weekly, it's hard to tell because these are very small candles. But what you'll notice is you don't have a break below on a closing basis here and a break above here. So I'm essentially looking at this as a range that needs to break. I want to be buying in this region of the chart and selling up here potentially until resolution in theory if you're trading it. But if you're looking for a swing long, you're going, oh man, I missed the low, I can't get long. You go, well, the context of this is I've got a pretty big rally potentially in front of me if that average is hit. So it's still a risk. You have to understand, like, you might not be right, but the only trade outside of a range breakdown is generally going to be a long if you can get it. You just don't want to be that guy who's trying to catch falling knives. So waiting for a setup is key. We're going to leave those levels on the chart. And I don't know if a 1 hour will let me go all the way back that far, but I'll show you what I saw. And you'll appreciate it because it's a very basic setup. I'm pretty sure it was a head and shoulders, actually. Let's go to automatic. Where are we at? And all the scrolling. It's been a long year.
Long scrolling. Lots of scrolling there.
Here we go. 17,174 is key. As you can see, we were back testing here after we broke above it. And this was our key level to the downside. And so when looking for this level, it was pretty much we gave up the level here and reclaimed it, right? You can see how you keep doing that. You're really not closing below it anymore. And so for me, once we started reclaiming this, you can see a very clear head and shoulders right here. Okay, so this is this little guy right here. You got your inverse head and shoulders. I started getting long in this region. I believe this was a gold pocket retest. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to remember all the details, but yeah, little gold pocket retest, like the reaction, got in at 16,621. So not the exact low this wick, but pretty close. Stop loss below this low, actually, on that one. Only use 6.66 leverage because, you don't really need to use a ton of leverage on swing trades. And it's more of a hedge anyway. And so once it broke out, I knew 17,174 was probably going to get tagged, looking for that. But realistically, my mind was, okay, this is a really good swing opportunity because if we break back inside below that prior low we just talked about on the overall breakdown all the way back here, we can draw that line and get rid of these now that we've gone over that setup. I'm going to hold this for an extended period of time. Now, my original timing for a top was actually in July, the second week of July, which we got a really good one here, but it held 24K. And then I was like, okay, so I should keep this open. There's been no sign of weakness. We haven't broke back into the range. Maybe we will get 48K. Do I have a setup for that? You did. It was a harmonic. So this is a reversal pattern. This is actually one I don't care for too much. The cipher, I like sharks better. They're a little deeper retrace, but beggars can't be choosers. Looking at this as a regression, and I'm pulling that based off of the X to D completion point. And the reason I did actually like this is now you have timing. So again, we're looking at time and going, okay, when's my next top? Just like I used time here in July, I'm going to use time here, So
that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask you was, so you look at time more than valuation. And obviously when you were in that window of time, the current value range was where you set your entry at. What does that give you? Can you tell anything about the valuation on that also? Here's the question breakdown. What is the highest price you think Bitcoin can get to in 2025 this cycle? And when do you think the high will be? So
if we're going off of previous cycles, I think you've got to be looking for 2025 second or third, quarter, just like normal. But I also could very well see an early high. And if it's very, very aggressive, I would shoot for maybe like 80. If it runs the full 2025, like, hey, we're going to do what we did every other cycle. It's going to be in like third quarter of 2025. You might get closer to 100. I actually don't know that you'll break it. But it's tough to tell. Like calculating the high is very difficult. Like I had a box for the high of this last cycle before this one between 62,000 and 71,000, right? So it's a very wide zone, but it's pretty good when you think about it when you're projecting from 5K. It's not bad. So again, it just comes down to high time frame, analysis, but this one was pretty good. So timing wise on this, you can see this was when I was expecting the high was to come in right around the second week of January. That's why I kept telling people, if you want 50K, you're gonna have to wait for January. And here's the real reason why. Before I get too far off topic, you have your X pivot here. Hopefully you guys can see my circles, and A here. So we're measuring the length of time here, and then we're projecting it from this pivot point, the second top here. And if you notice, it's almost an exact 1-to-1 to the bottom. It's almost an exact 1.5 to this local top, which is how I kind of started pulling for July. There were other things that lined up there as well. And then you have this one here. So I was looking for a top to come in January, and I was like, well, this is very similar to XRP setup when it kind of blasted off. Another one I traded, very similar setup, except it was a bat. And now you run into this, right? So we have a time pivot coming in that we know is good and valid based on prior cycle expansion rates and deceleration rates, which are almost identical, ironically. So I'm looking for a reversal in this area, mainly because, macro gold pocket, there was some naked point of control from December there. So when you get a time pivot, it doesn't necessarily tell you what's going to happen. It just tells you that it's going to be an important time. So for me, I will trade those with confidence a little bit more. I don't go into it always knowing, but you have kind of like, okay, the setup makes sense for this, and you can start kind of putting things together. But that's a generally, how I trade this stuff. And I use time and harmonics a lot because what I like about harmonics is they are a pattern, and I'm not a big patterns guy. But in this case, they use fibs and statistics, common expansions. I think it's referred to as starts with a C, not confluence. It'll come to me later. But convergence, that's it. Fibonacci
Okay.
convergence. So yeah, convergence is the term they use in like Carolyn Borden's Fibonacci trading book. So that's why I like them. It all just kind of starts to make sense to me. And then I can start saying, okay, harmonics are showing me where the most important pivot points in the market are, right? That's all these are. Where are my important pivot points based on convergence that has been calculated by Scott Carney's computer system to say that this is the most likely convergence to produce this reaction, right? So what am I looking for? I'm looking for the B leg, right?
Yep.
Get the B leg right above it. We're looking for the gold pocket, so things like that. That's what led me to it. And then it's just confidence of taking the trade. We kind of talked about it before we went live. I don't actually, trade all of my account, guys. So when he says I've got a position from, 16.6, it's nowhere near all the money I have, right? You don't want to do that.
No,
So it
why
allows
would
me
you
to
risk everything?
There are people that do it, man. There's people that do it. Leverage is a sexy thing. It's like one of those drugs, So, and then it's the same from the high. I look at it as a hedge in this case. So when I say I'm opening a hedge, which is what I did over here when I took a short, a hedge for me is I'm a long-term Bitcoin bull. I hold a lot of Bitcoin, probably more than I should. So I don't want to upload all that Bitcoin to an exchange, but I definitely don't want to take the drawdown of all this. So, think of it this way. I opened up an 11x short here. And what I've done is I've applied about 15% of my total capital. So I am still making money on the way down, but the first 9 to 10% of that is actually just a hedge. It's just covering my drawdown on my spot holdings that I hold off. So that way, when I close it out, I've got more Bitcoin and I move on,
Those fees have to be astronomical.
Believe it or not, funding fees are actually really, really generous to people that are in shorts and long terms, like in bear markets.
Okay.
So I actually came out ahead on funding fees. I heard you talking about that today, and I was like, yeah, no, I made a pretty hefty sum on funding fees because believe it or not, people were longing these dips. That's what people do. They bear markets or not.
90% of the market's looking the wrong. 90% of the market's looking the wrong direction.
Yeah, because you know what? There's that people that, the market, it's still, bull run's still on, right? Bull run's still here. We're still good. A lot of people do that. Nope, 40K is the bottom. 32K was the bottom, whatever it may be. And people are longing these dips. There's still a lot of buyers that come in. They just get sold into because there's more sellers. So a lot of times you end up making money on the way down. Like the funding fee will occasionally flip over where you're losing for, a couple of days or something. But by and large, even if it's a flat neutral rate, they're paying you to hold a short. So you make money predominantly shorting in that regard. So it's much safer to hold a long leverage short if you can time it right. The problem is you got a chart like Bitcoin that's straight up and to the right. It's like, oh man, holding a long-term short is really kind of a dangerous game. So that's why I always look at them as hedges. I'm not afraid to lose that trade by not being overexposed, right? That's the key. So
OC guy and I we took people's money all the way down through that short run there on Bitcoin. Over on the Chart Pride community, we were setting up every day for shorts, and every time we just kept taking long people's money all the way down from the top. So it was great. Real quick question. So you said about $80,000 to $100,000 is your top side prediction. What does that come out to? What does that come out to on your timeline for when you think that?
Like I said, I think that you'd be looking towards probably the second quarter or third quarter of 2025 if it's a traditional bull market from Bitcoin.
Okay.
However, should we get something crazy, so the S&P 500 is doing something really, really interesting, which makes me think you've got a really big reversal pattern here. like a big one. And it doesn't have to play out. These are dangerous games to play. You have to wait for this thing to come back into the range. So up to about 49.95 is the expansion rate for a shark. One of my favorite patterns to trade because it's based on SFP, swing failure patterns. So if at any point we come back below this X button, or X, not button, but X level at 48.1862, the prior all-time high that we've now broken, I'm going to start looking at that as bearish. And it doesn't mean that the bull market's over. It's just mean we've got a lot of run up here that could be recovered, right? And if Bitcoin is blasting off in that same moment and hitting like new highs or something, which would be very weird, I would start looking at that as, I don't know if you're familiar with people in 2022 before the dump, there were several analysts that predicted it. They thought we were going to have a melt up, which would be just a quick recovery, kind of like a triple top, and then come down. Is that on the table? I don't think so right now, but should that start happening, I think you have to prepare for a early top and probably a shortened cycle at that time. I just don't really see it happening right now, but the setup is there. You just have to wait for it to confirm. So you still have to wait to see something roll out and then come back. And that would put us all the way into like the second half of this year in 2024 is when I would expect something like that to play out if it was going to play out early, which it's only a year early, but I mean, a year's a year.
Yeah,
people
it's 25% of the 4-year cycle, but so
people are planning around that cycle. So it would really throw a wrench in things. So do I think that this time is different? No. But if the chart tells me that it is, and I can protect my capital by, positioning myself a certain way, I'm going to.
Awesome. Well, I got one more question for you here, Magic, and then we'll get into some other TA with the whole team here. My question is, your overall bag, like I know you said you have a substantial amount of Bitcoin, but are there any alts or low caps that you're into, and why? So
I'm not really a low cap guy, but I am into some alts. So Matic's a big one. It actually front run my target here. Pretty big.
There you go, TradeFly.
Yeah, he's my new friend.
I was looking for a reversal here. So I notoriously shorted Matic about 152 and then held it till 52.69 cents. So
nice.
I'm one of those people. Like I will hold altcoin trades as well if I think it's a good trade. So you had a bat to shark setup here. This was a bat top right there. We'll talk about that at a different time. But I'm looking at this one going, okay, can we get back down to about 56 cents and form some kind of a range here? Let me get rid of my fun folder and get rid of some of this stuff on the screen so that we can actually see what we're looking at, because otherwise it's a mess. Lots of levels. We need to get rid of some of these key levels. Boom, there we go. So in terms of what you're looking at here, you've got a naked point of control left over from the month when you established your base. Now, you don't have to come back to these things, and you don't have to come back to them right away if you do. Like Bitcoin's a perfect example of that. In this case, though, if I'm looking at this as some kind of a range, accumulation range, I do have to start asking myself, where's a good time to be accumulating this asset? And so really basic things I like to do is just put a channel on it and say, okay, are we above or below the median type thing? Like where is this in relation to its current rally? If I think that this is a valid range. And you can see that you're finding a rejection here at the EQ. So you're starting to come into that value zone. And for me, that is right around 56 cents. Mainly because there's something there that I can work off of. Whoa, fun folder did not. We got really, really fun. There we go. So something like this, when it plays out, what you're looking to do is you're just looking for the 50% mark and then the 88.6, or I like to put on a little pocket there. There's a guy in our group, Scorch. He goes by on the internet. He uses the 818, which I really like that. I need to add it to my lineup of them, but I just haven't updated my things in a while, which puts us all the way down here in like this little pocket. Basically right around just past the 786, but you don't hit a full 88.6. In this case, this lines up perfectly. So target 1 and 2 would be like so of this pattern. You can see that you've hit target 1 right here, good bounce. You've come back. Unless 80 cents is recovered anytime soon, I would look for this to make its way, flipping this into resistance potentially down to here. And that's where I become interested to buy again. So I am a buyer of alts. I just only buy them when it's convenient for me. And this is my plan. So if I don't get to buy more Matic, I'm okay with it. It's not the end of the world, but I would like more, and I would like it to be down here.
Yeah, I have quite a bit of Matic in my bag right now. But if I could get it lower, if I could add to it a little bit lower, I definitely would jump all over it. So Yeah, one more thing here. Let's jump over to the quad cam. We'll talk this out before we let you go, but we appreciate you being on today. I was just told that there's an issue with your link down below, but if anybody's trying to follow Magic, we've got a X link and YouTube link down below, but right now I understand that there's an issue with your YouTube link, so I'm dropping that in the chat right now. First of all, there, let's get that. There we go. Done. Multitasking over here, Magic. Multitasking. So guys, in the chat right now, I just dropped the corrected link to Magic Internet Money. I copied it and pasted it from someone sending it to me, and it did not work the way it's supposed to in that. So I will fix that later. But here's my question, Magic, because you obviously solid trader, man. You've got some fantastic entries. You're playing the long game, which was the thumbnail today on this long road, right? But the one thing that I have to say is your strongest suit is not your trades. It is your work-life balance and how you stay mentally and emotionally, physically healthy. So I know you work out a lot. And then you also have these amazing doggos. Let me show some people here in the chat.
Oh yeah.
This, let me go over here and get this shrunk down here. Come on, get it in there. Let's go to my bookmarks and then come over here. You guys, if you don't know, you can follow him, but he's got these dogs. He's got Baloo, and he's got some other dogs here. But look at this cute guy right here. So your pets, obviously a big piece of your emotional health, right, and your mental health. But beyond that and working out at the gym all the time, what else do you have that keeps you at peace, in zen in this crazy market?
So I'm a dad, obviously. So I've learned very quickly that there are more important things than charts and crypto. I know that sounds crazy to say to people. So for me, I got a son that's 10. I got a daughter that's 8. My daughter's going to be wrestling this year. So I've been helping her out with wrestling, going to tournaments, taking her to practice, getting her some extra time on the mat. She wants to be good at it, things like that. Sometimes you do have to unplug and not be afraid to do so, because I know that when I come back to these charts, that there's going to be more setups. And that's because I've been trading, 5-6 years now, and I've missed out on plenty, but there's always another opportunity. But the real big one is I journal. I don't just journal like my trades, but I do journal like almost every day. I'll write down, I'm kind of OCD about things. I'll write down when I wake up. I'll write down how my morning was. Did I make my bed? And just starting my day off correctly has really made a big deal for me. Get on my treadmill, walk and read at the same time, kind of relax before I start my day. I'd never start my day by just opening up my computer and going to work. So if you guys can make even 15 minutes of your day, like as a start about yourself, I think that's a good place to get from. You enter the day with a little different perspective.
Look, this is a great picture right here. This dog is like, you're going to wake up eventually and give me attention.
Oh, dude, he's like 100 pounds now. He's big. He's a big boy.
Love it.
But his name is Baloo because I got him when I took my short. So right around when I took that short from about a little over 40, I went and I was getting a dog. And so I named him Baloo, infamous bear. Yep. The other dog, he's a half Jack Russell and half mini Australian Shepherd. And his name is Crypto. He's actually the mascot for my YouTube channel. When you go there, you'll see him in the picture. So,
Let's go.
Yeah, it was like a subtle hint to people. I told people I was shorting anyway, but it was like a subtle hint. Like I bought a dog, and I also named him after a bear. So if I were you, I'd ease up on the DCA for a while.
There you go. There you go.
My man is all in. That's awesome.
That is fantastic. Hey, man, we appreciate you coming on today, Magic. Anytime that you ever want to come on or anything that you ever want to do collab-wise, we any of us here in the team would love to work with you again. So
no, I love it. Thank you guys for having me. I was going to give you guys a big compliment. I think I did earlier, but I wanted to say it again. Like, I don't think you guys understand. Like, they put together a pretty quality, like, not only like video and visual. Like, this is going to be a good show. Like, you guys have a good product already, which is awesome.
Thank you. Mad love, man. Appreciate that. Big time.
Yeah. I'll get you the heart. It's coming, baby. Here it is. Here it is.
There you go. TradeFly got the hearts for you.
TradeFly and OC, you guys on Twitter as well?
Yeah.
Do you guys have accounts? Okay, cool. I need to go find you and follow you guys. I know I follow Army,
they're right there.
There we are.
At Army Piper, at the real OCG, and at TradeFly 8, brother.
I'll be following you guys as soon as the show ends here. I'll get on there and make sure that we're all following each other there.
Dude,
So
we'll have to chat sometime. My little girl wrestles. So I'm
that's
doing
awesome.
tournaments.
How old is she?
Yeah, every weekend. She's 7.
She's 7. Mine's 8. Yeah, it's her first year. So this is great. Yeah, she's got a tournament not this weekend but the next.
Your
So pretty exciting.
mentality of you have family and there's life outside of crypto. That's TradeFly's motto. Like, I think he wakes up every morning and goes, "All right, let's see what's my priorities today." And at the very bottom of the list is his crypto.
Oh,
So
It's
dude,
you.
it's that way.
It's you, baby.
In my office has got I bought a orange Chase lounge, and then I mounted a TV that swings out, and so the kids can come in here and just hang out. Like, they sometimes are in here when I'm live. They're obviously not now; they're at school, but they know. They're like, oh, okay, and they know it's an open door. They can come in here. Like, my daughter's been on my channel when I was doing content, so it's good. You got to involve people.
I did a
That's
video
awesome.
with my daughter one time, and I made her. I was like, "Make a call, baby. You going long or you going short?" And I was like, "I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna see, like, does this play out?" And I did a video the next week, and she nailed it. And I was like, "Well, I guess I owe her money now." Like,
There you go. Put it in the piggy bank.
so, but now they ask me, they're like, "Hey, can we trade with you again?" Like, I'm like, "Yeah, let's do this."
there's my son right there in my studio right now, sitting here
Oh, that's
working.
cool.
So, yep.
He's got better hair than you. I'm not gonna lie.
He's got better hair than me, man. But yeah, he sits right here with me every morning, running the show with me.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah.
That is awesome. Very cool. All right, well, guys, thanks for having me. I won't take up any more of your time.
Yeah,
Great
Magic,
show.
we appreciate you, bro. Anytime, man. And guys, give Magic a follow. Twitter link down below. I just dropped that link there in the chat also. And then also Alexander G just dropped all of our links down there for us. Our amazing, wonderful mod over there. So Magic, take care, man. We appreciate you being on here. You had some brilliant stuff that you dropped out for us today. So we appreciate you, man. And we will catch you on here next time. Anytime you want to come on.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
Later, bro.
Great meeting you, man. Take care.
Guys, that was awesome. Magic Internet Money dropping some great alpha. Let's go ahead and get into some charts. I'm going to have an empty spot up here, but I will be cleaning it up as we go on these charts. But let's jump over here and let's take a look at what's going on right now. Bitcoin still pushing up past that range, guys. I'm going to be watching this closely today, but we are trying to get up into that range. I'm watching 41,750 up to about 42,000 to be a rejection point. If we can break through that, then we will be looking at a target of about 42,400. We also have this trend line coming up here, auto printed from Chart Prime. That's going to probably be, let's see here. Let's try to draw this out in a ugly way. It's going to be somewhere around 42,800. So 42.8 down to 42.4 if we break through this cluster. If we don't, watch for us to come back and retest this and see if we hold that as support before more upside. That's what I'm watching there. I'm going to go ahead and start getting these magic blocks cleaned off of here and getting us moved back in. So as we do that, OC, I'm going to kick it to you first, look at some TA, and then I'll kick it over to TradeFly.
Absolutely. So right here we have one of my BNB charts, but I want to get started with Bitcoin just to get some consistency. This is one of my old charts that I've been looking for. I remember that is the A, B, and the drop pattern that I've been looking at from back in the day. Here we go, A, B, and drop. I do believe that still we might be having that a little bit of a fake out down below the dynamic reactor. This is on the 4-hour, but it should be on daily. So here we go. This is what I'm actually looking at for a little bit of a fake out below dynamic reactor. Although, if we start looking at now, what is it? This next chart, I want to bring and open up the possibility right here. And let me just make sure that I get rid of everything here. That we have a little range, a V-shaped recovery. And if we get rejection out of this area, I'm going to be calling for a little range. So it will be completing the basis of a Wyckoff range at that area because we have a coming down, little range, V-shaped recovery, and then 70% chances of making a range all the way here. And I also believe that ranging, it's another way of correcting and getting all the way to March. Where is it? May, April, March. Here we go. March. I don't think that it's too long for the halving event. So I'm going to be drawing just a couple of candles from here to here. Oh, my bad. Goes candles just from here to here. There we go. And placing him right there just to make sure that I'm following on that new prediction. So that's what I got on Bitcoin. Turning it back to you guys to see what else you guys have on that area.
TradeFly coming your way, bro.
All right, full send. Yep, got a Bitcoin up as well. Just little areas that I'm looking at right now. One of them is going to be the dynamic reactor, and that is at about 42K. And you are going to see that you have the moving averages just above it. So I think anywhere from like 42K to about 43, I think we're going to see a good amount of resistance. Once we break that area, then I'll start looking for potential long entry. So that's what I got on Bitcoin. I'm going to go over to BITC because we talked about this yesterday. And
Get it.
one of the things that I was pointing out to you guys was BITC on the daily. Now, if you guys don't know, this is one of the new ETFs. So I just want to point that out to you. But I was saying, hey, we might have found support here on this dynamic reactor. Well, this is yesterday. This is when we talked about it. And we are looking at about a 3.5% move. Not so bad, so that would have been maybe a nice little trade. And then right here is your area to look at, or what I would look at about 33, we're going to say 5, right? Because you never really want to exit at, right at a line or right at an area that you think you're going to resistance, because other people are looking at that psychology of the market. They might beat you to it. So 33.5 would probably be a nice little exit there. And so from there to about there, it's not bad. 6.5% move would be a pretty nice play. So just want to revisit that, kind of point that out to you. It does line up with some of the indicators as well. You see the prime oscillator, that is flipping, and that is starting to go up and right. So that was kind of part of my basis for why I was looking at BITC yesterday. That's what I got.
Nice, very nice. Jumping over here on mine real fast, I'm going to pull up the master chart. Piper's master chart here, guys. We got that wick down, and I said if we can close this week, so on Sunday, if we close this above this gold line right here, that is going to be the 0.66 of the golden pocket on the long-term fibs here. That would be 40,760. If we close above that, and right now we are above it, then that would be a bullish retest of the golden pocket, and then that would be poised to send us up to a retest here about 40,800, back up for a retest at 48,850. Guys, this cycle phase typically gets us up into the platinum pocket, and that would be running as high as $56,000. So right now, no guarantee that we get up to this point here, but right now we are looking like we are poised for that move by us closing this candle above the 0.66. If you go back historically and look, we have held those 0.66s right before big movements. Here you can see that we did not hold that 0.66. The 0.66 on this phase here is up top. We came down and tested the bottom and could not stay up in there on the candle close. So I'm going to be watching to see if we can get that and then get back up into this range, or are we looking at a phase 2 back into a phase 3 and then into a phase 2 before we go to phase 3 post halving. Right now, it looks like we could be setting up to do that. That's why I have it set that way. But if we are going to be doing it like the first cycle, let me get all the way down there. You will see here that we did our phase setup. And once we got into it, we were rejected off the bottom. But once we got into it and came up into phase 3, this is what happened. We had some wicks down. That's not what matters. It's about the candle body close, and that is where we could be looking at, meaning that we are not currently sitting in that range of the phase two again, just continuation of the phase 3. None of this would play out. This would all be phase 3 running over into the halving. So which cycle are we mimicking here? I don't know, but we're going to keep an eye on that. But again, what I'm watching for is a Sunday candle close on the weekly above that 40,760, 750, somewhere in that range. If we close the weekly above that, I'm feeling quite bullish on this. So I have we got about 6 minutes. So both of you guys, I'm going to throw it to you for an altcoin. Both of you guys take an altcoin. I need quick TA on it. Then we're going to close this out and get out of here and go enjoy our Fridays. So
Friday.
Fourier, OC, or TradeFly. Who wants to go first?
Give it to OC. Let's go.
Go for it, OC.
Absolutely.
It's on you.
Correct. Awesome. So let's take a look at BNB. We've been talking about that for a long time, and we kind of got left it there. So we have this huge movement to the upside, as we also had that huge movement to the downside. We are having that retrace to the center point right here. So this is what a fair value gap works for, right? So if you were looking for an example of a fair value gap, this could be it. We're going for a retracement there, and it seems that we could be finding that somewhere around 278. Just of the fair value gap theory, but also let me just bring up a couple of other things in here. I have a support all the way down here. I don't believe that we're going to be reaching it back unless Bitcoin just drops to something like 30K. That is when we're going to be maybe seeing BNB going into the dynamic reactor. BNB looking very, very strong and steady. So the next thing that I want to point out is that we have another order block all the way here. But again, we are hitting target in this area. So BNB all at this moment looking strong. I would not be jumping for any trades at this moment on Binance coin until I see this neckline being broken and then going for a retest for a continuation in there. So that's what I got on Binance.
Awesome. TradeFly, over to you, bro.
Right on. I got Soul pulled up. I don't think we've talked too much about
The
that
Soul
recently.
Train.
The
Let's go.
Soul Train, baby. Woo woo. Let's get after it. Hey, TA, it works. Check this out. Came right down to the 382, about $82. Got a little bounce there. And now what we're starting to see is a little bit of flip of the ribbon here for the prime oscillator, starting to go up and right. You got a little green triangle there that's printed. You got a bottoming indication on the MVP oscillator. Hey, that kind of tells you that we might find support in this area. I'll tell you what you're going to fight with, though. You got some moving averages here. You got the 20, the 50, and yeah. So you're going to fight with those a little bit. We want to see those break. I'd say your next area. I see the 236 here, but really what I'd be looking at is a little bit higher because I see a significant area of resistance, right? You see right here, it was fighting all the way down. So I think it could push up as high as about $108 if it breaks this area right here. All right, so we're kind of flirting with these moving averages. So that's kind of high side that I'm looking at in the near term is about 108. And then short term, I think that this 382 is going to hold up. So far, so good. You could see it come down and retest this area. And what you would like to see is that the RSI is actually still trending up and right. If you do get that, I will say for me, that's one of my tried and true strategies. I look for that multiple touch points on the same support area with a rising RSI. That's an area that I like to enter into long positions, and then I set my stop loss underneath of that. So
I will tell you, if you break that 382, I would absolutely be running hard towards an entry on that 50% there in confluence with that dynamic reactor. That's a beautiful
100.
long setup. So
100, yeah. And then you're going to find yourself getting some bullish divergence also if the RSI is still trending up. So yeah, dude, that'd be dope.
Yeah, it would be. I would take that in a heartbeat. So, all right, let's jump out here and let's do this. Guys, we appreciate you guys joining us here today. You guys are why we do this show every day. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Alexandra G. Alexandra the GOAT, thank you for all your support today. Crypto Billy, Dave Digital, Trade Intuition. Guys, go give him a follow. Go sub his channel. Check it out. He's got some great setups on there. TradeFly, OC, outro. What you got for the people, man? We got to get going.
As always, it's great having you guys in the chat. Today was awesome. Love mixing it up with you guys. It's just a lot of fun, man. I'm really looking forward to it. And so for me, he says he wakes up and kind of does his own thing. Dude, I wake up and I'm like, yo, let's rock this show. So let's go, man. Let's do it. You guys have a great weekend.
Can I get the laser lights? There we go. OC, what you got, bro?
Guys, thanks so much for joining. This is one of the favorite parts of my day. I'm really looking forward for this year. I'm pretty excited to whatever the market might be bringing us. I'm very sure that we're going to be tackling very, very nice all together. So thank you so much. And keep track of this show because we're going to be giving you the TA.
Awesome.
Bring it back to you.
Guys, thanks for joining us here today. We appreciate it. This is Piper Academy. We're going to be back here next Monday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, bringing you guys the news, the charts, the markets, and everything you need to have knowledge because knowledge is profit. Have a safe weekend. Remember, volume is low on the weekend. So if you're trading, trade safe. And as always, use a stop loss.
That was awesome, dude!